Well, hello, better late than never. Oh, back again doing another video, and I apologise. Usually I do a video like this right minutes after it's happened, like at 5 in the morning, 4 to 5 in the morning. But unfortunately it was harder to do with the schedule I've been on for the last 3 days. It was quite hard to do all of that. It's been a real crazy week. I mean, I turned 28 this week as well. Just overloaded with shows to watch, and I just saw the Japan Tanahashi show and all of that, but we're not talking about pro wrestling. What I wanted to talk about was the UFC show that just went by this weekend, and just some quick thoughts on that. Get these things out there quickly. We love to hear what everyone else out there is saying. I enjoyed the show. I mean, I was really excited for the show leading into it because there was a lot of fights in the prelims, on the undercard that I was interested in seeing, and then to top it off you had the main event, Ronda Rousey and Liz Carmouche, and I'm a big supporter of women's MMA. I would love to see more of it. I've always felt that if women's MMA is to have a future, there are many things that need to happen. There need to be big fights, but the world leader in the sport, the UFC, they need to get behind women's MMA and really push it, really plant the seeds now so that in 6 years you actually have a future. And it's nice to see that, you know, we've seen steps like Gina Carano and Erin Tohill and Tara La Rosa, and we've seen all of these people in past, you know, making strides in the sport. And to see the UFC have a female main event women's championship on the line, that was something I didn't think we would see right away. I mean, the closest we almost came to it was Gina Carano in the WEC back in the day, but that didn't work out. And to see that really was something, and I mean, it's amazing when you think about it. Starting from the things that I saw backwards, I did see the Bermudez fight. I'm going to actually try and watch that again properly. It was a bit of a rush when I watched it, but it looked like a great fight from what I understand. Bermudez came from the Ultimate Fighter, if I'm correct, when Bisping and Miller were coaches, and Bermudez was actually quite a good fighter. I do remember him fighting Diego Brandao, almost beating him. So I did see some of that. I'm going to actually have to rewatch that. Let me know what you thought of that fight if you did see it, because I'd love to know what people thought about that. I saw the Brendan Schaub-LaVar Johnson fight, and that really, I'll be honest with you, I went and made Weetabix when that was on. I'm going to tell you the truth right now. I made Weetabix and I made some green tea because Brendan Schaub just took the guy down and kept him down. I think he was a bit conscious of how he was going to fight, because Brendan Schaub has been shown to be a guy that can't necessarily take a punch at heavyweight, and he's been put to sleep a couple of times now, so don't blame him for kind of using that game plan or utilising that game plan. Other things that I remember off the top of my head, Robbie Lawler, Josh Koscheck was another fight. That was interesting. That was very, very interesting, because at first I thought Robbie was going to fight at middleweight at the UFC, but he's gone back down to 170, a weight class he used to fight at back in the day in the UFC before he left. Bit of an inconsistent fighter, very talented, exciting to watch. Bricks in both hands, good knees, good kicks, can be up and down, be a bit inconsistent. One fight he can look like an absolute killer, and in other fights he can just look really off. And a lot of people are saying it might be better that he's at 170, motivates him to stay in shape, give him a bit more fire, lots of fights from there. And with the things that are happening in that weight class, I mean, there's openings, and if he can continue to make strides like he has been and like he did tonight, that would be a good thing for him. Fighting Josh Koscheck, a guy who I actually thought would win. I honestly believe Koscheck would win the fight, and to be honest with you, it was a bit of controversy, because while Lawler defended the takedowns and he managed to get out of the wrestling that Koscheck was trying to apply, Lawler started hitting him and landing, and those shots looked unanswered. But the one thing I want to point out, and I do agree with people who say this, that may have been a premature stoppage, because, okay, let's just say it, he was taking the shots, yeah, but he was not out like that, and literally after the last punch that kind of didn't really hit but landed enough, the Herb stops it and Koscheck just gets back up and is like, what kind of thing. And usually fighters do that anyways when they've been knocked out viciously. They'll get up, oh, I'm okay, because fighters' egos work like that. But in this case, this wasn't one of them. I don't think Koscheck was hurt enough to where you could warrant stopping the fight. But, I don't know, a bit of controversy. Let me know what you would have done and what you thought about that one. I'm really intrigued to know what people felt about that. The next thing was the Uriah Faber Ivan Minjavar. I did watch that. Ivan Minjavar has been around for years, man. I mean, he's fought George St. Pierre. I remember he fought George. I know he fought Uriah back in the day. I've always seen his name on, like, cards that I've watched. His name always pops up there for some reason. Uriah looked great. I mean, Uriah came out there and did what he had to do. Got that, Liz Carmouche's long-lost brother, as people like to call him. He looked great out there. I mean, it was a bit of a do-or-die fight for Uriah, because a lot of people are saying, well, what happens with him? He's getting too many title shots based off of popularity, blah, blah, blah. If he doesn't win, this puts him in a very difficult position. There's a lot of fear about people getting cut, and things like that. And Uriah came out there and did what he had to do, and he won pretty convincingly and pretty dominantly. Now, this leads to the question, are they going to put him in a title fight again? Don't be surprised if it happens. He's an extremely popular fighter. He's probably the most popular fighter in the lower weight classes, within the lower weight classes. I'm talking about 145, 135 and 125. More people know who he is than they know the champions, unfortunately. And if he keeps winning, they're going to put him in title fights after title fights. Now, do I see him fighting Barao? Absolutely not. Do I see him fighting Michael McDonald? Probably. Yes, I do. Do I see him eventually working himself back into title contention? Yeah. Do I think it should happen after a few fights? Absolutely. Do I think that's going to be the case? Maybe not. We might have a Chael Sonnen situation here. But either way, Uriah's back in the mix, so that's good for him. Maybe I would like to see him and Michael McDonald. I think that would be a great fight. What else happened? Okay, so we had that. Then we had Lyoto Machida and Dan Henderson. Now, I looked at this fight as almost... Basically, I said this. This is the same thing that happened with Randy and Lyoto. This is how I viewed it. Dan needs to close the distance on Lyoto. Is he quick enough to do that? And I thought that would be the kind of fight. We could potentially have a war, and I know a lot of people are expecting a war because Lyoto can kind of give you that fight when he needs to, a little bit. But we also know that coming off the Henderson Shogun fight, I think people's expectations were very, very high as to what you would see. What we did see was a fight where Machida did enough to win. Everything he landed was very clean and very on point. If Dan was a little bit more aggressive, he probably could have won that fight. It was not the most exciting fight to watch. It was intriguing when they were still. You wanted to kind of see what was happening, but there were times when I was also watching it thinking, come on, just get going, please, just get going, do something. So it was kind of not the fight that I expected, but in a way, not too surprised by the outcome of it. I don't know what this does for Lyoto. It puts him in the mix, obviously, and it's good for him. People are debating what happens, though, because if Gustafsson is in there, Chael's in there, Gustafsson wins his next fight, we might see Gustafsson fight John Jones. And I could see them going with a fresher option. And also, don't forget that Gegard Mousasi is fighting Gustafsson, and you never know what could happen there. If Mousasi wins, that might change a lot of things too, so who knows what's going to happen there. And then we get to, and just to point out, a lot of people thought that should have been the main event, and in a way, I'm so glad it wasn't. And then we get to the main event, the women's 135-pound championship bout. And it's a shame because while Cyborg was sitting in the crowd, she really could have been the other person looking eyeball to eyeball with Ronda Rousey, and unfortunately that didn't happen. Liz Carmouche got that shot, and I think that's a good thing. That helps build another name. Enough people know who Cyborg is, even though, there's all that stupidness over weight classes and contracts and all of that. Eventually it will work out, but I think it was good because they've built another name in Liz Carmouche. The primetime specials to that show were amazing. I loved them, enjoyed every single one of them. I thought they were great. Those are the kind of things that help get people behind fighters, and it helps them connect with fighters. The first episode with Ronda talking about her dad, and Liz talking about her background and her background in the Marines, and her coming out as a lesbian, and all of these things, very intriguing factors, and got me more gives you more ground to kind of know where they're coming from. And there was a really interesting comment about how this could change the life of Liz Carmouche. She's living in this very small apartment, you know, with not much in it at the time, and her life's going to change anyways now. The whole freaking world knows who she is. But we're going to talk about the fight itself. I've always said that there's going to be a fighter that gives Ronda a kind of war, where they just, you know, they give her that kind of war. Liz almost did, and Liz almost beat her, and in a way, from a promotional standpoint, it helps the fight because Liz wasn't completely destroyed. She almost got that choke and almost got her there, and that made things interesting. I mean, that gives Liz some credibility there, and they could easily do a rematch if Liz won a few fights. They could easily do it because it wasn't that bad of a fight, and it was good for Ronda to show some vulnerability there and show a human side within the fight. I think that's something that people find hard with someone like a John Jones, where we haven't necessarily seen the human side of him, and people haven't completely warmed to him. But with Ronda, we kind of saw a human side. She looked vulnerable. She came back, you know, and then beat her within the first round with that armbar, which, I mean, bloody hell, that armbar is in her instincts now. From what I understand, her mum used to wake her up early in the morning, blow a whistle, and make her do it in her bed and say, always be ready. And that's from like childhood. Now you go from childhood, and now it's just instinct. And begs the question now, what happens with this division? Who is Ronda Rousey going to fight next? And the other question is there anyone out there that can beat Ronda Rousey? Now, I never get carried away with this. There's no one in the world that can be beaten. Guys have always been beaten in any kind of sport. Women have always been beaten in any kind of sport. But who can do it in this sport? To this woman, Ronda Rousey? That's a great question to ask. Could Carmouche come back from a rematch and beat her? Who knows? Could Miesha Tate in a rematch? Who knows? Are there other fighters out there that could do it? Who knows? Maybe Gorgel might come up and fight her. Who knows? Maybe Michelle Waterson might go over and fight her. We don't know. But the person that is able to defend that armbar and actually nullify that will be very interesting to watch. And maybe even Cyborg. Maybe they can work it out. But who knows? And I'll tell you, great night. It's great to see variety in a show for a change. Something that I find that pro wrestling is lacking on. Just watching that main event made me think, once again, pro wrestling, you're really missing out here. WWE, I'm talking to you, and TNA, I'm talking to you, and Ring of Honor, I'm talking to you, and the rest of the world, I'm talking to you, because this was a well-received women's bout, and pro wrestling has so many factors where they can orchestrate things and make things seem even better than they are, and they're not doing that, and they're really missing the boat on women's wrestling right now. And maybe the women's wrestlers and the promoters need to think about this right now, and it's some food for thought. Anyways, I've rambled on. I've talked enough. Anything else that I want to say? The obvious, the ring girls looked great. I'm not really into Ariane Celeste, to be honest with you. Nice to look at, pretty girl, but for some reason, just lacks that spark. You know what I mean? Just empty vessel, and that's a horrible thing to say. Let me take that back. Actually, no, I won't take that back. I just, you know, and I've heard some things about her where she's not come off too nice in front of people. And to top that off, I did see an interview, and it was like tumbleweeds going in the brain. What's the best thing about being in the UFC? And she's like, the pizza? No. Whereas you see someone like a Ronda Rousey, who's attractive and she's got a bit of feistiness and fire in her, and then someone like Brittany Murphy, who, I'm not gonna lie, when I watched that show, that UFC show, and I saw Brittany Murphy, I just heard this. This is no joke. I swear to God, I'm watching her and I'm like, damn. And this literally played in my head. This, I'm not joking. Nothing like a bit of Barry White. Anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap up. You let me know what you think. You let me know how you feel. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe already. I do videos maybe 2 or 3 times a week, mostly on MMA and pro wrestling and boxing. If you're a diehard MMA fan and you just want to see the MMA stuff, you can just see that. If you're a pro wrestling fan and you want to see that stuff, you can. Every once in a while I'll talk about boxing. If you really want to hear a topic on boxing, I'll talk about that. I mean, I love that. I love talking about it. There's something in kickboxing you want me to talk about, I'll do that. If you have a video request, I'll gladly do one if I can fit the time in. I mean, this is your channel as much as it is mine. And if you like all 3 or 4 of the topics, you know, combat sports, pro wrestling, you just want to watch, you want to talk, you want to have fun, you can't go wrong with ticking that box up there. Anyways, guys, I'm going to head out. I might put some stuff in the description box for you to check out, and I'm going to finish my mug of tea. So guys, take care, have a good one, and God bless you.